Ilya is a communication science student, passionate about media, social media, and also new technologies. During a lecture on the relationship between artificial intelligence and communication, the professor mentioned how AI algorithms are transforming the way content is created, distributed, and consumed in traditional media and on social platforms. This topic caught Ilya's attention, and he chose to develop a short essay, Generative AI and Communication on Social Media, as an assignment for the course. When we are learning, producing something, whether it's an essay, a presentation, or a project, is an extremely effective strategy to support our learning. As highlighted by Seymour Papert with the concept of constructionism, the creation of tangible products strengthens active learning and the ability to reflect. Producing something not only consolidates knowledge, but also stimulates critical thinking and creativity. We have all already widely experienced the great educational benefits of this activity in the analog world. What advantages could it bring to our training process? Integrate production activities, such as those supported by LLMs. When we work with LLM to produce something in the educational field, we find a valuable and comprehensive ally, capable of enhancing our learning experience and the quality of our work. First of all, we can use the LLM to stimulate new ideas. During the creative phase, it can suggest interdisciplinary connections, unexpected examples, and questions that push us to explore less obvious perspectives. This continuous flow of insights helps us break out of our mental patterns and generate more original solutions. At the same time, we receive immediate and iterative feedback that allows us to improve the content as we develop it. The LLM can identify potential weak points, suggest ways to make the discourse more impactful, and offer alternatives to strengthen our arguments. In this way, the creative process becomes a continuous dialogue. Each new draft is based on specific guidance that allows us to improve our skills in a non-evaluative and non-judgmental environment. Collaborating with an LLM helps us develop critical and informed AI interaction skills, preparing us for the context in which we will use it professionally. If you're following your own learning path, you might start by asking your LLM to suggest a task that aligns with your learning goals, such as the title of an essay, a paper, or a written assignment. If, on the other hand, you're taking a course like Ilya, you'll already have a defined topic or subject. In any case, the first essential step is to thoroughly understand what it's about, what the topic is that you need to produce something on. This allows you to build a solid foundation on which to develop your work, avoiding superficial or generic content. For Ilya, who has to write an essay on generative AI and communication on social media, this means starting to clarify things well. What is exactly meant by generative artificial intelligence, and what are its specific uses in social media? To narrow the scope of the essay, Ilya asks his LLM to focus on the ethical topics that interest him the most. List 5 discussion topics that are the most relevant regarding the ethics of using AI in communication on social media, and explain why. Ilya notices 2 topics that particularly interest him. He reviews his course notes and reads the articles suggested by the professor during the lecture, and he chooses the most relevant and interesting topic for his essay. Framing the topic well with the help of an LLM offers significant advantages. It gives us clarity. We start from a solid and well-organized understanding of the subject. It improves our accuracy because the dialogue with the LLM helps us avoid generalizations, encouraging the search for precise explanations and references. And finally, there's a dimension of personalization. Ilya can guide the model toward the aspects he finds most interesting and then choose the ones most relevant for his essay. Once the theme is well outlined, one of the most important aspects in production work is the search for inspirational materials or basic content. An LLM, potentially integrated into research services, even those specifically geared towards scientific fields, can become a valuable ally at this stage, helping us find relevant information, cases, articles, and publications for in-depth reading, and then supporting us in synthesizing a solid foundation on which to develop the work. Before starting the writing process, it can also be worthwhile to focus on identifying the core idea, the thesis we want to develop, which will make the work original, interesting, and relevant. In this process, a collaborative relationship with an LLM can prove to be extremely stimulating. We could, for example, ask for support of this kind. I've decided that my topic will be discriminatory biases in generative artificial intelligence and their effect on the production of visual content for social media. I've read many articles, and now I want to bring out my key idea for the essay. Help me clearly define my central thesis. You need to ask me provocative questions one at a time and encourage me to delve deeper into the ideas I express. Working together with an LLM doesn't mean delegating the creative process, but rather using the model as a partner. First of all, to broaden the range of possibilities by asking for suggestions and ideas that help us expand our initial perspective. Additionally, it can help us refine our insights by guiding the LLM to assist us in specifying and reformulating ideas that don't seem clear to us. And finally, we can get help in connecting unexpected concepts by prompting the LLM to suggest links and analogies. That sparks new perspective. I'd like to emphasize this last point. The development of a transdisciplinary mindset, one that goes beyond the boundaries of individual disciplines, is crucial for tackling the complexity of global challenges. All the issues we hear about, climate change, growing social inequalities, require an approach that goes beyond disciplinary boundaries, because reality comes at us all at once, not divided by disciplines. You can use your LLM to help you develop critical and reflective skills that are essential for navigating constantly changing contexts. In this way, a culture is fostered in which learning and innovation emerge from the synergy between different disciplinary domains. In any case, whatever your perspective, to make the most of an LLM, it's very helpful to define some rules for interaction. How do you want your LLM to act? In this situation, a few suggestions might be very useful to you. Reverse the roles. Ask the LLM to be the one asking questions or providing prompts, and you take on the role of responding. Ask the LLM to give concise feedback on your answers and help you delve deeper by posing a new question. Then, when you feel you've expressed yourself fully, ask for help refining and summarizing. Elia, for example, states the topic and asks to be prompted with provocative questions and requests for clarification. Or he might ask the LLM to help him define the concept he wants to express, perhaps by helping him articulate a certain number of sentences, unlocking his creativity by suggesting one key word at a time. For the collaboration with the LLM to have educational value, it must not be a passive process, but an active dialogue in which you guide the model with precise prompts, evaluate and choose among the ideas proposed, and delve deeper into concepts and suggestions. This collaborative approach allows us to leverage the AI's capabilities without losing creative control, and in fact, helps us develop our reflective and ideation skills. Before diving into the detailed drafting of content, it is always important to design a clear and functional structure. A well-organized structure not only organizes the work, but also ensures that the content is presented in a logical and persuasive way. Ilya asks, can you suggest 3 different structures for my essay? These are interesting structures, but he wants more. How can I make a presentation on AI and social media more original? In this way, Ilya can explore different approaches to choose the most suitable structure, also discovering narrative possibilities he had never come across before. By asking for alternative suggestions and personalized details, Ilya can build a clear, effective, and original structure. This process not only helps him organize his work better, but also stimulates his creativity and ensures that each section contributes meaningfully to the final result. Ilya has now reached the final version of his essay and would like to get some feedback. How can he manage a form of collaborative revision with an LLM? Ilya starts by asking the model for an overall assessment of the final version of the essay. Can you give me general feedback on this essay? Analyze the organization, clarity of concepts, and coherence, highlighting strengths and areas for improvement. You could expand the review by asking other types of questions such as, can you evaluate the introduction and conclusion and suggest how to make them more impactful? Is the tone of my essay formal and consistent enough? Evaluate the language used, identifying any discrepancies between sections, or suggest changes to unify the style. Is my main argument well supported? Are there any weak points? Highlight any logical gaps or lack of evidence, suggesting areas to explore further or connections to strengthen. And finally, you can ask, can you check if there are any grammatical errors in this paragraph? highlight the errors, and suggest corrections. Getting feedback on the final version of a piece of work thus becomes a collaborative and dynamic process in which you maintain control of the work by using the model's suggestions to improve every aspect, from structural coherence to clarity of presentation, but above all, to develop your critical analysis skills and continuous improvement.